I have something I want to talk about today. Um, I was I made a video about the video. I just put it out the other day, and it was talking about hair, the black woman's struggle, and I began to think about that, and I had some comments on YouTube and even on Facebook, and as I began to think about the comments, I started to, and I'm thinking about the videos and some of the content of what I was writing or what I was actually speaking the other day. I got an understanding that uh, uh, racism is not let me put it this way: the old channels of racism are no longer there. They no longer apply. Racism now has a new face. It has a new strategy. You know, let me say it as far as um, um, white racism and even black racism too. But I'm speaking mainly upon the white racism of old. Okay, we know after during Jim Crow and all of those times, we understand that had um, whites were using outright racism, which means they were just doing it outright. But as we came through the civil rights movement, racism became subtle. Racism really became more institutional racism than than the open racism. In other words, it became racism moved into politics and systems and organizations, and it moved from the white police and the KKK with the hoods in the streets. It moved into the police force, and it moved into Hollywood, and it's always in Hollywood. But part of what I'm talking about, I'm going to talk about, has to do with Hollywood. I say things about Hollywood a lot because I think Hollywood is the progenitor, is the perpetrator, or the ones that keep these stereotypes in front of the public. All you have to do to see it is look at the Trayvon Martin situation. They painted George Zimmerman as a white man. George Zimmerman was really not really classified white. I mean, his father was Jewish, I believe, and his mother was Cuban or something. So, but he wasn't like a white man like from the South. But that's the way I feel like he was perpetrated. I feel like that's what the media did. Now, I'm not talking about what the public said. It's just what the media generated. So the media is behind how we view things, and that's what I was trying to say in my last post about why black women view maybe their beauty or their image a certain way. It was because of the white media that capitalized on the fact that we have no, we don't own any media. Usually newspapers or television companies, so we have to watch others tell our story for us, and that's what I was alluding to. But anyway, the face of racism has changed, and I understand now that the new trend for racism is to get a black face and use a black face to push the racist agenda while yet calling the person pushing the agenda a liberal. Okay, let me use let's take the see what had happened was when black people went against the Democrats or the Democratic Party, they was labeled the House Negroes, and they was Republicans. They was labeled a House Negro, Republican, or conservative. But now you have in the Democratic Party, the Democrats have honed their skills that they now can use black people to push racist agendas against their own people. Now, this is what I really want to get into, and we know this is not new because this is how Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, this is the strategy she used to get black preachers to shut up and to push abortion in their own communities. She said, we're going to get the black preachers and they're going to push our agenda. So that's why even today you see that microcosm is still upon the black church, where they don't speak out against abortion. If you want to know why, it was because of the seeds and the work that was done by Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood way back in the 30s, when they were coming up with the eugenics movement, a way to sterilize black people. Planned Parenthood was for sterilization of black people. You can look it up and just do your own research on eugenics and find that out. But what I found is, um, uh, let me let me uh, uh, let me give you some illustrations, instances of what I'm talking about. Uh, you know that hip hop, okay, hip hop. When hip hop first came out, I remember it was kind of like empowering to us. We were getting a lot of knowledge from these brothers who had been, a lot of them came out of New York, and these New York rappers wasn't ignorant and country bumpkins, and so they actually had, a lot of them were studies that had a lot of these guys had some of them have college degrees, but as hip hop went on, we start seeing a dumbed down, coonish, buffoonish version coming out. Now, what happened was, now, what has happened is, the new face of racism is paying black people to degrade themselves. And this is what the white and Jewish owned media is doing. They'll take a black person like a hip hop artist, and he'll rap some of the nastiest, craziest stuff to degrade his women, talking about killing up his community. And they will stand in the back and push that and pay for it because the black people don't own any of the production companies, and they don't have ability to produce it. Matter of fact, I was looking at an interview. I can't think of what his name is, but I know he was the guy that was in the sitcom called Rock. I can't think of his name right now, but if you remember that black sitcom, it's called Rock. I heard him doing an interview, uh, it was a CNN guy. He was doing an interview with him, and he was saying no black person in Hollywood has the ability to greenlight a film. And what he meant by that was, it don't matter how talented they are, it don't matter even how much money they have. The movie industry is a monopoly. So, if you don't push what the political agendas of the elite in the movie industry is, then you don't get a movie green lighted. So that's why all the movies in Hollywood have the same theme of murder, sex, drugs, violence, violence, violence. Why? And then, black people are always cast in certain roles, certain stereotypes. Why? Because the people at the top are still using, their influence through media and communications to push their, stereotypical racial agenda. So, but the difference is we have, blacks are being paid now to use their image to degrade their people. Blacks are being paid to use their image, and this is the reason why none of these entertainers and artists, they never want to be held accountable when people say that you're putting out negative stereotypes. Oh, I'm just talking about what's going on in the community. Oh, I'm just acting. It's just acting. It's just music. But in reality, we know, no, you are actually influencing people with your acting or with your lyrics. Now, so when I began to look at this a little deeper, I looked at people like Tyler Perry, and, when I looked at his movies, I said, this guy, he casts black men in some of the worst ways in his movies. His movies is about the dominant, strong black female, and he casts men as weak, perverted, you know, sex starved brutes, the same, image that Hollywood had already cast black men in. If you go back to the first one of the first Hollywood movies called Birth of a Nation, and that's what they cast blacks in. The blacks in the movie was brutes and just wanted to run around raping white women, and that image stuck with us, and so they're okay with. That's why, if you want to know, why does Tyler Perry? Why does this seem like the red carpet is rolled out for him? Because he's pushing an agenda that the elite, the people at the top, want. He's using the images that the people at the top want the masses to see. In other words, they want to see the black men as vile, as angry, as domestic violence, as, brutes, as, molesters, as lazy, as tired, as no good, as can't be trusted, and they want to see. That's still the agenda of the people at the top, and so they'll use those images. Oh, let's take I can take anybody. Let's use Lil Wayne for instance. He'll rap some of the vilest stuff. I mean, some of the worst stuff that he's talking about. Even a comment that he made about Emmett Till. You know, just in his rap, using Emmett Till in a mocking demand in a mockery demand, manner. Yet those record companies, those people at the top, the people that distribute the records, not the people writing it, those people don't matter to me because nothing gets greenlighted, nothing gets to the masses that the producers and the owners of those record companies don't want. You got to realize if I own something, then I have the right to push my view. And that's what they're doing. They own the company, they push their view. When there's a view they don't like, you don't see that view on their TV program or you don't hear it in their music because they own the music and they own the record company. So that's why you don't see dissenting voices against homosexuality. You don't see anybody speaking, being able to get any airtime talking about the dangers of homosexuality, how wrong it is in many instances. You don't even hear anybody speaking against pedophilia much anymore. Why? Because the people that own the industry at the top, they want homosexuality, they want pedophilia. So because they have a monopoly on the music industry and the entertainment industry, their agenda is what's being pushed. That's why you're seeing so much of death and murder and violence and sex and sex and sex, because the people at the top probably are perverted themselves. The Bible even says that Satan is the prince and power of the air, of the airwaves, communication. Satan is the prince and power of communication. So it stands to reason that he would have his people in places that influence the masses the most, and that's why they own the record. If it just all you have to do is Google who owns the five largest media outlets, you'll find out. It's no secret. Then find out their affiliations and what clubs and secret societies they belong to, and it'll be easy for you to understand this. So what I'm saying is, racism is no longer the KKK with the hood on, and it's really no longer white people calling you a nigger. It's using black people to call you a nigger. So, okay, one more thing. Think about the shows like The View, how they have, these white ladies, and they have one or two black women, and the black woman is always used as the bulldog. She's used to attack. They use her to attack. That's the same role she's always been cast in. Think of Florence on good. Think of Florence on the Jeffersons. She was an attack dog. Think of go. You can go all the way back to What's Happening. Rob's sister D. She was an attack dog. These stereotypes have always stuck with us, and no matter how much we try to get away from it, if our own people are pushing it and being used to push it, then that's the reason why we still have it. So I'm not giving these cats in the industry a pass. I'm not giving these Harriets and these Cicely Tysons, and I'm not giving them a pass just because they were in the industry and they made some good movies. That's a lot of this stuff originated with the original blacks that were on film, and they should have made a decision. We're not going to let you use us to to push your racial stereotypes, and they're doing it today. They're doing it today. That's why they pay. Why do you think they pay athletes so much money? Do you really think they pay them so much money because they're great at athletics? No, they know that their athletic ability is going to draw attention and influence. They're buying the influence. So that's the reason why when you saw in the NBA, none of the NBA players, even though they were probably a lot of them probably was against homosexuality, they couldn't speak out against it. Why? Because they've been paid to keep their mouth shut. They've been paid. It's going to mess with their contracts, their endorsements. So they already know that the agenda is being pushed. All you got, they're just making people rich and pushing an agenda. And so this is the reason why we have to understand the subtlety now of racism. They're turning black they're making black people racist. Now, that's why you're starting to hear this more and more about reverse racism and stuff like that. They're trying to make us the racist. But the problem they're standing back, allowing us to say all the bad things they wanted to say. That was the issue, I believe, even with Dave Chappelle. I said that before. His show was funny, but it was more like a show of degradation for his people. Everything that was funny on the show had to do with blacks being shown in a bad light. I think he woke up to that and realized this is what Hollywood wants. They want to use blacks to prove a point that blacks are buffoonish, blacks are stupid, blacks are violent. And so these brothers, they pay them to use their images to go do this stuff. If you just study the rap group NWA when they first came out, niggas with attitudes, they were pushed by Jewish owned the Jewish owned record industry, and that was their way to combat the East Coast, where brothers was becoming aware and enlightening, getting knowledge from the music. They combated that with the NWA, and with that West Coast sound. And then there was a record a producer. He was high up in the record industry, and he didn't give his name, but he was saying that he was called to a meeting with a lot of record companies and executives, and they sat in the meeting and said, "Listen, we're going into the prison industrial business, and we need to fill the prisons." And that's when they said the rap changed from the dancing, having fun, party rap to gangster rap to murder rap, and that's when you seen the Spice Ones and the Lil Twist and um the Easy E's and the Ice Cubes and the Dre's and the Snoop Dogs and all of a sudden you got John Singleton, these Boys in the Hood movies and Menace to Societies, and we don't went from Spike Lee movies to Menace to Society and just pure shoot 'em up gangster flicks that was giving the images, that put the images again, and these was black people putting out the music, putting out the movies, but behind them was the same old white racist agenda, and they were just paying blacks to do it to themselves, so that once a black does it to themselves, you can't scream racism because a black person is doing it. Yet what you don't see is the whites are paying the blacks to do this, and many blacks will sell us out the same way that the Uncle Toms sold us out during slavery, the same way the house nigga sold out the field nigga. It's the same thing. And so these people in the industry now, these so-called Hollywood moguls, I don't care who they are. If they are not doing anything to show the positiveness, the positive side of blacks, we're not all thugs, we're not all gangsters, we're not all whores, we're not all whoremongers, but there are some people who are who there are some black conservatives, there are some people who have a biblical more of a worldview, there are some people who have morality, and if those people are not doing anything to show the whole scope of black people, but they're only showing the liberal side, they're only showing the side of the entertaining, thank good thug, gangster, party, reveler, then they are just as bad as the white racists to me, because they are doing the job of the white racists. Okay, so this is the reason I'm saying, black people, you need to control your image. All of you cats in Hollywood, all of you cats that's rich, got money, you doing out there in the public eye, you need to control your own image, because your image is being pimped still by white and Jewish people that is pushing an agenda to keep showing your people in a negative light. That's the reason why we are last usually in this nation, and usually even in other places, because we haven't figured out they just pay us they just pay us to hurt our own people. And this is something that we need to understand and look at. Last but not least, to give you a further illustration, I remember when the Cosby Show came out. The Cosby Show was the first show we saw that showed black people prosperous and in a good light. I remember how there was a lot of fight against the Cosby Show, because black people started to say that the Cosby Show was black people acting white. That's what I said too. That's what we saw. But the point was, we were so conditioned to the buffoon, the coonery, the Aunt Esther cracking with Fred Sanford, the Thelma's getting smart with JJ, the the Florida, Marla Gibbs, Florence talking crazy, Mr. Jefferson. We were so used to that coonery and talking crazy and ignorant stuff that we was watching on TV, that when we saw black people in a conservative, well-bred, educated, intellectual, clean cut life, we actually got offended, and the whites were also, I think, some whites, not all. I'm not talking about everybody. When I speak, please, I speak in generalities, but forgive me. I'm not saying everybody. I know it's not everybody, but remember Even some whites probably who had a still racist view didn't like the fact that you see successful black people on TV. Why? Because they understood if they see success, they're going to be successful. That's when black people started to come up a little bit. Why? Because we started seeing successful characters. All of a sudden you start seeing there was some black group speaking out against the Cosby Show. Now, who do you think was behind that? Black people were actually speaking out against something that was making us look good. But yet we were so conditioned and we was so in the bed with liberals' money who wanted to keep. So you got to understand liberalism. These white liberals are the problem of black people. They want black people to be so dependent, and so they got to keep showing us in wretched states, and we always want welfare and food stamps. We don't want nothing in life because that keeps them controlling and leading us. And they go in and grab a lot of our college educated blacks, and they begin to use them to push their liberal agendas through, and those become the house Negroes to keep the rest of the populace of Negroes in check. So you got to understand the white liberal is where the KKK comes from. The Democratic Party is the party of the Ku Klux Klan. So they are the ones that really went and got into the movies and politics, and now we have their agenda, and their agenda is subtle racism. It's not the outright smack in your face racism. It's just we're putting it we're continuing to racist stereotypes, but we've conditioned you to do it to yourself. And that's why every time you see a crazy black person or a black person that's just totally against his people. I mean, he just hates his own people. And I've seen many. Just go on YouTube, you can find them. You will see that he got so many white people as their friends because white people are using him to say what they want to say. So we as black people have to understand that. Stop being used. Stop allowing the other races to use us to push their agenda. We have to understand that, and we cannot give our artists and entertainers a pass just because they're famous. You can't give, I mean, you can't give Beyonce a pass at how she's portrayed herself in front of these young women who now want to be sex kittens because that's what they see. We know the industry is using her. We know the Hollywood and the Jewish media is using this girl to influence a race of other young impressionable black girls. But can we give Beyonce a pass because she's being used? No. We have to hold her accountable. You letting them use your image. Same way with the Jay-Z's. Same way with the Rick Rosses. Same way with the Lil Waynes. Same way with the Nicki Minaj's. We have to stop as black people giving our other black people, our famous and successful black people, a pass because they're rich and famous. If they are doing something to harm the race, if they are putting out stuff that's making us look bad, then we need to say it. Even Tyler Perry, we need to say that. No, you putting out stuff that's making all black men look bad. You're not saying that you're not putting out stuff where there are good black men in your movies that are actually where your movie is portraying black men as men that have worth and value. Your movies are about cash the black man in, leave him and get another one. Or that's what I see. So we have to hold them accountable and say, no, we're not gonna let you get away with that. We're not gonna allow you to hide behind art and it's just music while you're pushing a agenda that's influencing our children. So we gonna hold you accountable. So that's what I wanted to say. When you see these down low house Negroes that are they and the bad thing about this is these cats in the industry, they actually think they're real. They actually think they're black, but they're really not. They're pushing a racist agenda. And they don't understand it because they have been psychologically conditioned to think, well, whatever I'm making money, I'm getting paid, but it's still causing our race to be stereotyped. And so, I just wanted to say that today. I mean, I know this was kind of a rant, but I definitely want people to know and be aware of when you see these movies and these sitcoms, don't let your there was a sister even on Facebook that had she opened this up to me to allow me to know that there was some black writers, even though like one of the shows I was alluding to, like Good Times, even though there was some black it was produced by white producers and Jewish producers, but most of those shows were, if not all of them were, but but it was a lot of them was written by black people selling out their own people, using the same coonery and the buffoonery to get a paycheck because he has to eat. So he's a starving writer, or he's trying to make it in the industry. He gonna write what the producer want him to write, and he gonna write what the producer's audience want to see, and that's where the stereotypical jive turkey JJ buffoonery, angry black man, which was James, and Thelma, loose Walona, and the braggadocious immoral George Jefferson. You know, these are the shows that stereotyped and shaped how black people see themselves, and even how white people who may not understood black people, but they see us through these sitcoms. So hold them accountable. Some of y'all got these cats' Twitter accounts. You got their Facebook accounts. Let them know. Look, listen, man, you're not helping us with this foolishness, and we gonna hold you accountable for what you're saying. You know, Lil Wayne putting out stuff, love me like Satan, and we letting them get away with that stuff because we just won't, we just don't know how to say anything to people because we are starstruck and in love with their fame. Forget that. Tell them you're hurting your own people. All right. Thank you for listening. I'll probably be back later on today because I'm enjoying making these blogs. So I'll talk to you later. This is Pastor Stephen Darby, DTV Blog. Be blessed.